Yes, the PS3 is under attack. No, wait. The PS3 is doomed. The PS3, flat out, is a failure. Now, these are words being spoken by gamers and industry experts alike, and now, late word last week is that the PlayStation 2, a 7-year-old console, is outselling the PlayStation 3 in Japan. I mean, is there any hope for Sony? Let's take a look. Only a few short months ago, the console war was at red alert, as the once dominating Xbox 360 faced some serious competition from Sony's latest PlayStation. Late-night crowds rioted, people actually got shot, and scalpers around the world hawked their systems on eBay in the hopes of putting their children through college. But once the holiday madness subsided, gamers discovered that the handful of titles available for the PS3 barely held up to titles for the Xbox 360. Stores, once unable to keep units on their shelves, found themselves unable to move their latest shipments, while gamers lamented the lack of games and the need to make the jump to Blu-ray. Is the PlayStation 3 doomed? And could such a monumental failure take down not only the Blu-ray format, but parent company Sony with it? Or does the PlayStation 3 really just need a year and one great game? This is living? No, this is The Loop. Joining us tonight from San Francisco, Dan Hsu, editor-in-chief for Electronic Gaming Monthly. Their latest issue focuses on the problems Sony is having with the PlayStation 3. And all the way from Los Angeles, game editor for Geek Monthly, Paul Semmel. Gentlemen, welcome to The Loop. Dan, I'd like to start with you, sir, since your latest issue is all about this very issue. You talked with Jack Tretton, Sony's Computer Entertainment America's, he's the new president, the CEO. What did he have to say for himself and for the company?
Well, we're talking to a typical executive. He's going to say nice things. He's going to find good ways to spin everything from how many PlayStation 3s they're selling to the software. So he has nothing but good things to say. But we do put him to the test.
Sure.
We ask him about the games, about the low numbers.
But how can he actually defend this console? How can he come out there and what sort of spin can he put on the fact that it hasn't been selling as well as they were hoping and that the games really aren't that great?
Well, good question. His best response to me was, what you're buying into is the PlayStation brand. All the competitors, none have lasted longer than 5 years. And he's saying when you buy a PlayStation system, you're buying something that's going to be around for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. So, and that is true. Like PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 have shown that they have the legs to last a long time.
That is true. But, Paul, do you think people bought the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 1 because of the brand name, or did they buy it because of the games and because of what the hardware had to offer for the price?
Well, I think some people bought it for the brand name because PlayStation has become the generic name for video games, just the way it used to be. I play Atari, I play Nintendo, now it's I play PlayStation. So I think there are some people who are, not hardcore gamers, mind you, who are a little more educated about this stuff. But if you're a mom and your kid's played PlayStation for the last couple of years and he wants the new one, you just go and get it for him. You don't look at the other brands and go, oh, well, that one's cheaper, I'll get that one for him.
I think that's a very valid point. I mean, it used to be, let's go play Atari, let's play Nintendo. But, Paul, should Sony worry that in a few years' time it might be let's play Xbox or Wii and not let's play PlayStation? Or is it too early to predict something like that?
Oh, I think they absolutely should be worried. I mean, I've seen sitcoms where they make jokes and the generic name they use is Xbox. It does happen. And they have to be mindful of what has happened. I hope they read the EGM article because I think that they need to know that they're in a world of hurt right now, and this next year is critical for them. If they don't make significant leaps forward, then it's really problematic. I mean, let's put it to you this way. We should have this discussion in a year, because after this coming holiday season, if they're still this far behind, then they're in trouble.
Yeah, well, Dan, now what do you think about that? Because it seemed like Sony, they're reluctant at best to admit that they might be in any bit of hurt, let alone a whole world of it. Do you think they're banking on Blu-ray and on the raw horsepower of the console to keep them going this year, or are we going to finally see some exclusives and some good games coming out?
I think Blu-ray is part of it. Horsepower is definitely part of it. But the thing is, they're not really delivering on everything they're promising. You know, there aren't a lot of Blu-ray movies out there, and the horsepower. These games do not look like what they showed for Target Videos a couple years ago at our trade show, Electronic Entertainment Expo. So what they're really banking on now is just relying on the PlayStation brand. Like, you get this message very clear in the interview that we did. It's just, you know what, trust us. It's going to be okay a few years from now. So right now, you know, there's nothing really strong about the PlayStation 3 brand, but Sony's really counting on long term, not just like Paul said, a year from now, not really right now.
Well, see, Dan, you know, for me, I trusted them with the PS1 and the PS2 because they had exclusives. They had the Grand Theft Autos. For the RPG fans, they had the Square and Enix games completely locked down. They seem to be losing exclusives rather than adding them to their roster. Why is this happening with the name like PlayStation with a console?
Well, I think publishers are seeing, first of all, Microsoft's doing a lot better than anyone expected, and second of all, PlayStation 3 is not doing that well. So publishers have to make money. You know, the Rockstar people, Ubisoft, all these guys, they want to make exclusive deals sometimes if it's worth their money, if there's some incentive to do so. But if, you know, they're looking at PlayStation 3 with 1 million installed base, they look over and Xbox 360 has a 10 million installed base. Why would they lose out on that installed base? You know, all those potential customers. So in the end, those guys need to make money, and that's why you're going to see more games shifting over to the 360.
All right, now games are one thing, Paul, but you got to have a solid online system to really compete in this next generation of gaming. Everybody knows that. Microsoft has to say they have a solid system, really, they set the bar for this entire industry when it comes to online gaming on a console. Can Sony hope to catch up with their online network?
I think so. I mean, you know, they need to look at what Xbox Live does and sort of mirror that, which they've done a little bit, but they need to catch up because they're sort of Xbox Live like 9 months ago. But I think actually all they really need is one really great online game. They need a Halo 2. They need a Gears of War. If they find the game that really pushes it, I think it'll help a lot.
All right, so 1 year from now, Paul, in your mind, who is the leader in this console war?
Oh, I still think Xbox will be the leader. It only began because they have a year. I think the gap will be much, much smaller between the three of them. The Wii, to me, is actually more of a, I mean, I'm not sure what the word would be, but like it's almost a wild card. Like, it could be an utter disaster still. It could be just a huge monster. But I think between Sony and Xbox, it'll be a much closer race, but Microsoft will still be ahead by a bit.
All right, Dan, final word from you. A year from now, is it all Xbox followed by the Wii, or is the PlayStation 3 going to overtake?
I think exactly what you just said. Xbox 360 first, followed by the Wii. PlayStation 3 is going to need more than a year to catch up.
Wow. All right. That's interesting. I didn't know that we'd be at exactly this spot, but everybody seems to agree. Thank you, Dan and Paul. Appreciate you guys keeping us in the loop there. Look, there's no getting around the fact that the PlayStation 3 is in a lot of trouble. You know, we've all heard that the console war is a marathon and not a sprint. But at some point, doesn't Sony have to at least put on its cross-trainers? I mean, there better be a great plan in the works, because I'll tell you, Metal Gear Solid 4 alone is not going to save this system. And while we're at it, I want to be able to download games when I'm playing something else, and I kind of want a controller that vibrates. And what good is Blu-ray if I can't watch The Notebook? Seriously, I mean, you're laughing because romantic dramas don't belong in 1080p? I beg to differ. Until these problems get fixed and the PlayStation 3 has not one, but several killer apps for their system, it's still just an oversized panini press. I'm sorry.
Attack of the Show, weeknights at 7, only on G4.